It's funny. I wasn't live on on what is it? I wasn't live on Google, but I am live now. Tonight I wanted to talk about parents, and I wanted to let you know that you're not by yourself. I'm finding more and more people are finding out they are having trouble with some teenagers, or they're trying to figure out as a single parent, but also two parent homes are actually having trouble nowadays too. And people think, no, not really. It's all the single parent home that's coming. And single parent doesn't necessarily be just a mother home. Single parent home also can mean lately some fathers are actually raising their children as well because of some other circumstances. I don't know whether it's economically that's going on or spiritually or death, but a lot of things erupting where the household where it used to be norm, you would think of a single parent, you would think a single mom, but it's not a single mom anymore. It's a single dad out there that are raising their children by themselves. And it's tough. I wanted you to know that it's not easy. It's very tough. It is very hard, and it takes a lot of support. So I wanted to be there for you and help you out uh, in many ways as possible to see what we can do to bring you in and give you updates and give you support and help you really get in the mood of understanding where your children from. Like right now, do you know where your children are at? Do you know what your children are doing? Do you? That's the question. Do you know what your children like? Have you talked to your children about sex? Have you talked to your children about drugs? Have you talked to your children about the things that are going on in the world and how they can be affected? So, these are some of the things I wanted to bring to the table. And like I said, I want to do a lot of roundtables. Uh, so I wanted to do a lot of roundtables and really get in the mood for people to understand how we can help one another, how we can be there for one another. So it's very important, like, do you have a spiritual base? That's one of the things. And spiritual base does not also mean that you have to have a church, and you don't have to be Christian. You can be Judeo-Christian, you can be regular Christian, you can be Roman Catholic Christian, which is Catholic. You can be Baptist. I mean, there's all kinds of different Christians out there. But also, we forgot about our Jewish brothers and sisters. So you can belong to, and our Muslim brothers and sisters. And also our brothers and sisters that are in Yoruba or Santeria and Vudan and a lot Hindu, Buddhism as well. We are all these things encompassed in the world. And we have all these children, they come together. They come from European background, they come from African background, come from Caribbean background, they come from Asian background, they come from Native American background. And you bring these together. These are cultures, these are different things, and they're being accessed. There's different foods, there's different environments. This is our tolerance for things are really different. So, back in the day, your parent could beat your butt. And I mean, seriously, beat your butt and take it to another level. But now it's saying, no, we can't do that. That's not allowed. That is, we got to find something else. We got to figure out what we want to do. So the way our parents were, our great grandparents were, the way they were able to raise our children is totally, totally different. And it's like, how do you get them to be where you are? How do you bring them full circle? And also, it's very good if you hold on for 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Excuse me. It's also good for you to have some support. It's whether it's a grandparent, whether it's a coworker, whether it's, the back in the day, I think it's was called parents supporting parents. Back in the day, they used to have this group. I mean, back in the 80s and the 90s, where the parents would go, or single parents would go, and they would meet and swap stories and be supportive of each other. And then the church would have little functions, and then you would have the synagogue would have little function, and the Islamic, as far as I know, that I know about them, they didn't have that. The women would be together and with the children, and they would come and do something different. But I really don't know. That's a discussion for another time, that we're going to do a roundtable with all these different religions and come together and talk about how we can live in the world together cohesively. So that's a subject for another show. But there's always a place. You had, for your children, there's programs like Big Brothers Big Sisters. There was mentorship programs, like young men that were growing up. When my son growing up, he was in Asar Set, and my husband was a leader in Asar Set. He helped him and took him to different meetings, and he got to meet other young men. He got to learn to work with a rod. My son at the age of 9 was actually doing algebra. At the age of 9, he did not like, different things. He just wanted to be part of the crowd. He liked karate. So they took interest that he was in and showed him how to use it. Like, simple thing is that we had a staff, and the staff was made for the head of the family. At the time, it was just me. I hadn't met my husband. And what we did is that they showed him how to actually use the staff. Right now, you're going to see an interruption. You're going to see my child actually fly through after I stated that I was on a live radio show. So I just want y'all to know, if that figure that you're seeing, that was my child. So he was working with the staff. And our staff was beautiful. It was done in Kemetic way with the Ankh on it. And I passed it on to him to work with. And they were teaching him fighting skills, but also defensive skills with the staff, which was totally amazing. And how we picked the staff is we went out into the woods, and we said that the staff would actually speak to you and you would pick it up, or it was like the wood, and I had someone carve it and put designs in it. And it was beautiful. So for me, my staff had my ancestors on there, and my parents on there to be supportive, as well as my children. But it's okay. It helped, and it gave him something to vibe with. And to work with, and also to defend himself very well. And these brothers would actually take him in a room, and they would work with him, with the staff, how to, this way, that way, left, right, how to defend. We would have like what we call a movie night. And a movie night, what we would do is that we were all vegan, so we would order vegan food, and we watch Netflix movie. It would be movie night at the Asar Set and Asmal Tawi temple. And we would do that on Friday nights with the children and the adults. And the bookstore would be open, so you can get educational things like the Now organization and learning things. And it was talking, and the sisters were having fun. And he got to be with the brothers, and the brothers were sitting there like, showing him things and just eating food and watching movies. And it was just good. And then we talked about it and how it was effective. So that was some of his foundation, but I was the majority of his foundation. I was, like I said, like a single parent for a very long time. And I went to the football games with my son. I put him in football camp during the summer. He was been in football since he was 6 years old, and he played Pop Warner football. And then during the summer, I had him in dance. what is it, dance academy for the summer. So he did both. I always kept him very busy doing two things at the same time because he had abundance of energy, which is really good. And he was able to function. And I figured out as he got older, the more he was active, the more he did things, his brain, he could focus on school and was just straight A student. When he just did one sport, he was not that much focused, but he also went to a charter school, which had a lot to do with it, and he was taking karate at school, which is different. The school that he went to was in Souderton Charter School, which is really nice. And he took piano. The dance was on mom. Uh, he just did a lot of things. And same thing with my daughter. I had her involved, and also I was a Girl Scout leader. I was also a Boy Scout leader. I was very much involved. I was also at the school, knew what was going on, and made sure that my children were going to be a part of this, community and be supported. So because I couldn't find what I want, I started to make that and be a part of the Boy Scouts group, Boy Scout troop, being a den mother, and a Girl Scout leader as well, doing both because they were both in there at the same time, and doing karate and doing football. And I had, of course, and I had my daughter in karate as well. She kicked butt. Let me tell you, she kicked butt. But this was me being an active parent. Also, I exposed my children to different things. We went out to different restaurants, from all cultures, and for them to understand, we went to different art galleries. We did different things that maybe some people didn't do. I taught them to eat with chopsticks. I basically went with them on a discovery, like, wow, I want to be with my babies, and I want them to learn and be part of the world, and I wanted them to be part of society. So I said, what can I do to make them productive in society and for them to understand that this world is really global and it's very expensive, and that we're all religions, cultures. So they've been exposed to a lot, from Islamic teachings to Judaic teachings to Catholic teachings to Buddhism teachings to Mormon teachings. What else? Hindu teachings. They've been exposed since they were young because they've had a mixture of friends of in different kinds. Matter of fact, my son, when he was young, his first friend that he had was actually from China and spoke Mandarin. And there was this thing called Pal Talk back in the day. And he would be on Pal Talk, and they would talk and go back and forth. He would say some English words, they would say some Mandarin words, and he would go back and forth. And also, my son's first language was not English, it was Spanish. He had to basically learn English at the age of 8 because that was not his first language, which was very hard for him. Once he grasped the English language, it was debate on from there. I mean, it was like very debate. When he got to be 9, he started speaking with half Spanish and half English. So these are some things. So I said I wanted to expose him to different things in different languages. Well, his father is Hispanic and Samoan, so he had that culture thing. So we're my family. We're chop suey. We're mixed up. We got Japanese, we got Chinese, we got Sicilian, we got African American. We're just your regular chop suey family from all kinds of our lifestyle, which is very beautiful because it gives us, like when you get together with family meals, different exposure. So I wanted my children to understand that we are abundant and beautiful. So that's what I worked on, like really talking to my children, sitting down to my children. My children to tell I was not a beater. I was more of a talker because of my background. I hit my son, I think one time. It scared the bejesus out of me more than it scared my son. So after that, I said, that's not going to work for me. What's going to work for me is basically talking. So I would sit them down and talk to my son, talk to my daughter at each age, and and when they were doing something wrong, ask them if they knew, what was wrong, what they did, why it was inappropriate to do that. And then I was explain if they didn't understand. I would explain it and say, this is why. And if they did know, my punishments were different as they got older. First was like to write your name. You had to talk about why what you did was wrong. Explain why it hurt, if it hurt someone, if it involves someone's feelings. We really got a conversation going when I sat down with them. And as they got older, it became, what, you're going to write an essay about your disrespect. And as they got older, first it wasn't first an essay. It was like, you're going to write me a paragraph. Then it got, you're going to write me a paper. Then it got, you write me an essay. Then it got, you're going to start doing research. Then it got to be, I have some equations for you. Oh, you got this. Now we got geometric going on. So I started putting more and more things to them. And also I homeschooled my children for a bit and took them to different places so they could understand nature. We did the rock thing. We did the science thing. So we can build a good, clear communication with my children. I wanted them to be part of the world and understand what was going on in the world and observe. So even when we went out, I would say to you, when we get home, I want you to write about this experience and what it meant for you. We go to the farm and I wanted them to tell me what the process was, why we were learning. So when they went to the farm, we would also come home and do some science experiments like growing plants. And also when we lived in the Poconos, we would feed the animals. They knew that was a ritual of every morning going into the woods and feeding the deers and giving them carrots because I juiced every day. So they had a selection of food that we would eat in the morning because they had a liquid breakfast, a solid breakfast, then a liquid lunch, then a solid lunch, and then they had their snack, and then they had their dinner. And that was it, and they drank water throughout the day. So this was their lifestyle at the time. And at the time, my children ate differently. My daughter was vegetarian. My son was a meat eater. I was raw. So I had to do this, and I've been doing this all their life. And also I've been raising people, other people's kids since I was 13. So I always had more than one child. So when I was disciplined, it was me disciplining all of them at the same time. And no one we don't play favorites. It was talking to them and making them understand of where they were coming from and what the expectations of them were. And I let them know I had high expectations for myself. You know what I mean? So I had high expectations for them. So I'm not going to put more pressure on you than I would put on myself. And then sometimes I remember that they were children because I was a little adult in a child's body all my life. So I even had to sat down to my children and say, you know what, you're gonna have to be patient with mom sometimes because mom doesn't really knows what it's like to be a teenager and a kid. I'm trapped in this adult body. So work with me, and I'm gonna find out and do some research on my own how children react, what the normal responses are, and I think that opened me and my children's relations up because I've always talked to them. They say sometimes I talk too much. Hello, I'm doing a talk show. Can I say more? Then at other times, the punishment, they'd rather me talk to them than not talk to them and give them assignments. Also, my assignments could also be very physical. When you make me mad. So you might have to give me 50 push-ups, 50 lumberjacks. Also, you would have to do assortment of exercise in a period of time. And that also, for me, built their body physically, mentally, spiritually, and giving them something to think about while they're working out. That's what I did as a parent, and also talking to them. And I would talk to my friends that were older and see what their take was on being a parent and how they handle some of these issues. Like, how do you talk to your child about sex? When do you start talking to your child about sex? When do you start talking to your children about drugs and alcohol and getting involved? Do you know what type of school environment your children are in? So that's why I ask everybody, do you know where your child at this very moment as we speak? Not that you're trying to keep tabs on them all the time, but you want your children in safety. And they're the most precious cargo that you have, so you want to cherish them. So that's why, before they had cell phones, if they went out, I had to know where the child's name, where they went to school at, how they met them, the parent's name, phone number, and spoke to the parent and made sure the parent and I spoke face to face, and knowing that I was dropping my child off in a safety zone, that they were going to be okay. We made an agreement. So what I told my children, we made little mini contracts with each other. And if they broke these contracts, now my children had contracts since they're 9 years old, and it was their chores, their schoolwork, and their behavior. And if they did, this was the punishment that they would resort to, these little contracts. So it became, wow, mom really goes there. And I did. I wanted to know what's going on. I wanted to make sure, even in school, I did not always take the teacher's side. I listened, and if it did not sound like my child, then me and the teacher would sit down and discuss the best way. And if I did find that out, I'm not the parent that you want to really talk to when you're basically disciplining my child for something that's not right, because I'm going to bring it up before your superiors, and we're going to work it all the way up. I don't care if we got to go to the district, and I've done that for my children. I'm willing to go the toe to toe for them, to let them know that they mean that much to me, to let them know I'm in their corner. But if they're wrong, my kids know there's consequences, because I know my kids are not angels. As I was sharing with someone, we were talking about, I heard my daughter curse for the first time. She's 23 years old. And it was like, well, what? I mean, my eyes got big, and it shocked me to hear my child curse, saying a bad word, as we said. And then my son said a bad word. And I was nowhere in the vicinity, didn't know. So I'm saying, we don't know where our children are all the time, and that's okay, where they're coming from. So hold on. Okay, I don't know, somebody's calling in. So let's see, does anybody have anything they want to say? Can I bring anybody in that's been on? So if you want to say something, I have some viewers, so I'm going to open up your mic. Hello, 608, you're live. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm great, and yourself can hear me.
Oh, yes, I can. It just takes a minute. So, would you like to tell about, I know that you're a parent. I'm assuming you're a parent.
Yes, I'm a parent.
Okay.
Parent.
Okay. Are you, say that again?
I said, 2 adult sons.
Okay. And could you explain to some of our audience how it was for you? Did you come from, were you a single parent? Because a lot of people saying that our children are out of control because these are single parent households, and that's why they're out of control. And I don't believe that for one iota. I don't believe that at all. But that's just my opinion. It's just how the children were raised. Or okay, some people, let me explain this again. Think about it. Some people come from a 2-parent home and then they go to a single parent home. Was that a scenario for you, or what was your scenario?
My scenario was both, actually, and I come from a very tight-knit family, so even when I was married, my sons, my sons were, let's see, 8 and 12 when I got divorced. Let's see, 8 and 13, actually. And so they were raised with their dad, and we still have a close bond in raising their children. So if you are a single parent, which I was later, but at the same time, it didn't necessarily feel like I was a single parent because I had the support of my ex-husband. Because, again, I believe in, you're 100% mama and he's 100% daddy. And so when you come together as parents, just because you're divorced does not take away from the fact that you're parents.
Correct.
And so every now and again, you have to remind one another, because we're adults, but still, like you said, we're kids, and vice versa sometimes. So we have to remind each other that you're still a parent. So just because the other parent isn't there sometimes, you have to sometimes help them and push them along without being judgmental that, hey, you're still dad. It's not my responsibility to be dad. And so we had great communication in that area. So then that way, having boys, they can always get around the system, because if I didn't handle it, the dad was able to handle it. There's certain things that dad handled, there's certain things that I handled, and we didn't get in each other's way just because we were divorced. Because it is still you're raising children. And so I will say I had a great relationship with my ex-husband. Also, I raised 4 other children outside of my children. I was a guardian at 2 separate times of other children, my brother's children and then my sister's children. So there was a time where I was raising 4 by myself, and then I was raising another 4 teenagers all together, but they were all 4 boys at one point in time. And so at that time, I still had the support of my ex-husband. However, when you're raising 4 boys, you need a multiple array of support. So I'm a huge fan of it does take a village. If you have family, using the support of your family to help out whenever necessary. Some being financial, I didn't need the financial as much as we need that support of edifying the children, helping with disciplinary, sometimes babysitting, the camaraderie of having aunties and uncles to understand that they want from us.
Okay.
That you don't always have to talk to me. If you have an issue, even with me, you have other family members that you can have counsel in, that you can trust. And making that very well known. Also raising, boys, your community. Making sure you're in a great community, as you talked about the fair sex community and the community that you were in that helped out with your children. That is a huge impact. Is the community that you're raising your children around, boys or girls, right. And making sure they have access to that when that they can have access to that if you're not around, or they need that confidence in somebody to talk with other than you. Right. My voice is important. And so which was also beneficiary because you were able to speak to the coaches, that's their community. And I had a great relationship with the coaches to the fact that when things don't work out at home and we got a problem, I bench them. They're like, hold up, hey, she got control even at the school. Yeah, there's a responsibility. This is a team effort in raising a family, including the children are part of the team. And so, and in their community. And so, when they misbehave in school, I bench them. Right. And I tell the coach, they can't play this week. And the coach had my back. And so, it was a great way that even today, those boys, none of them are in jail today. Not to say they haven't had issues and they haven't had issues that, police contact or whatever. But they are adult men and they have their own resources with those same adults in their own community. And now if they're having children, that they don't just rely on me, they rely on understanding that they need a community to help raise their children. And some of them, 2 of them have daughters. Wow. And so it's nice to see them now utilize that same philosophy that hey, you don't have to worry about me because you have your aunties, you have the other aunties, you need to call them. And I like that because it's not just you. And if something happens to you, they need to know that they're not alone. And so that was my philosophy in raising the children. And I must say, they're not all perfect or angels, like you said, things happen, but if you also know the characteristics of your child, right. When you go to meet with that teacher or the principal and you listen, as they tell you what happened, you know the characteristics of your child to know if that's correct or not.
Correct.
You can't be lied to because you know what they will and what they will not do.
Right.
And I'm not just saying that to say my child won't do, because if you're listening, you will hear certain things in that storyline that says, yep, did he say something like that? Oh, yep, he'll do something like that. Yes. Or, no, that's not even his characteristic. That's not even him. And so then you got to, then you work at holding those teachers in your community accountable. I've had to go to bat for my kids as well. Once I found out, okay, yeah, somebody's not telling the truth and it wasn't my child. Right. So not that I go, you lying, I held them accountable to show me proof. Right. Show me what you needed done and that it didn't get done, or how was it supposed to be handled, and making them accountable. That way they understand, the teachers and principals, these kids aren't alone. They have backup. They can't just say anything about my children.
There you go.
But they can call me when they're out of line, but they also need to make sure that they are responsible as well to be a part of my community. I didn't allow anybody to tell me anything about the kids and the children, because that is still my community and not my responsibility. So I still monitored that and held those teachers accountable. I mean, to the fact that they had to sign stuff to prove they got homework.
Yep.
I held them accountable as well as my kids. When I took a notebook to school and the teacher had to sign, yep, I received it. Because I had teachers who said they didn't receive homework, but I spent all night helping the kids with homework. I want to make sure these shit's correct. Right. There was work involved. But right. If I couldn't do it, my assistant did it. When he wasn't at home, they went to his home, or they met at the library. I had a community where the kids went to the library.
All right.
But the librarians do kids, hey, how you doing? So if you're looking to say they're out of control, then I would definitely take a look at saying, not to pointing the fingers, but maybe take a reevaluation of the community of your resources. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's some things missing, saying you need to implement a few more people because we need some help. How do we do that? Let's talk to the school. Now we know schools aren't perfect, but correct. There are still some good people in there that are they're there because that's their calling. So that's your job, is to try to find those people. So that's how I did it. And I'm grateful that they're all productive members of society right now. They still got some ways to go, but I'm pleased.
See, that's good. See, that's what I like. I want to come from different aspects, and because like I said, I've been running into a lot, and I seen a friend, and she was saying that she had a child that was being disruptive, and with the laws is that you can't spank your kids because what is it, child protective service come in your home and call it abuse, and if you spank them, you could get all your children taken away. It's like all these laws that these parents are having a problem with actually being part of. Like they're saying that, how can we do this? Because all these laws places not like me, like our parents, if you did something wrong, that you gotta switch to the tush. Or, mama got that shoe and beat that butt. You know what I mean? That's old school. But I can also understand about the abuse too. There's a difference between spankings and abuse. Me, I talk my kids to get deaf, like I said. And I'm grateful, my daughter's graduated, which I'm grateful. No pregnancies, no, very good and challenging times. My son, he's graduating this year. I'm so excited. No drugs, no alcohol. Just a really good kid and just a sweetheart of a young man. No, he's not perfect, like I said. I had to buckle down, and my baby actually got a job and has been working for 3 months. That's a miracle, because I'm looking at my son. He says, Mom, he didn't want to work for me. He told me I was a perfectionist. And do you know who he got for his boss? Do you know what he said to me when he came home? I got somebody just like you. And it was like, okay. I said, so how are you dealing with it? He's like, she's tough. I'm not perfect. I said, baby, nobody's asking you to be perfect. There's just a way you go about doing things. But you know what? She knows that he's a dependable young man. She can call on him. So, as you know, you guys know, I brag about my babies because I love my babies, but I'm so proud of them. I am so proud of them and the young man he's become and the young woman that she's become, and that we hold it together. You know what I mean? They love me and they love me with all my flaws because I let them know quick in a hurry. I'm not perfect. And the one thing I do, if I'm wrong, I will go to my children and tell them I'm wrong. You know? Sometimes I gotta take that back because you witnessed me not when I say something. So I had to think about that. Wait a minute, I don't say it all the time, but if I'm wrong, generally I'll go to my kids and I'm tell them I'm wrong, because that shows them that even though I'm mom, I don't know everything, and that's how I looked at it. So, what advice would you give out there to these parents that are going through this? That are saying the laws are taking their right away to be a parent and discipline them. What would your suggestion be?
Well, okay, I'm just going to be honest. I didn't really dive into that law because, again, um, my community is my community. And I know what my goal was for raising my children.
Okay.
For raising my niece and nephew. For raising my nephew.
Okay.
And you can ask any of them today. I didn't spare the rod. Now, I didn't need to use it that often either.
Right.
However, there's always time. There's consequences to everything. And so, again, my suggestion is, that might be a last resort. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to lie and say I didn't use it. But as they got older and teenagers, it wasn't necessary.
Right.
Because there's more things to benefit and actually work, because if you are looking at the psychology and the characteristics of each child, mm-hmm. Everybody has wants, needs, and desires. And so there was always a way. There was no negotiation. I wasn't a parent who gave a lot of choices, because I was running the household and I have a goal to get you to a certain age, and then you can do what you want once you leave here. But in the meantime, the choices you got was the ones I made for you. I'm just being honest.
Okay. The
choices you got with one, my ex-husband. If I wasn't sure, I made a phone call and say, how should we handle it?
All right.
If I wasn't sure, I made a phone call to someone in my community. How should I handle this?
Right.
So there wasn't always about corporal punishment.
Right.
And I did take advice because that's why I had a community. And so as they became teenagers, especially with boys.
Right.
So I only raised one girl until she was 15. But I raised boys till they were grown. Okay. And you have to really, in a male community, mm-hmm. If you don't have a male in your home, you really got to get responsible males and get them, once they turn 12 for sure, get them around other male species. Not get them away from females, get them just more. Because a woman can't raise a man.
Correct.
I understand, and I'm sure you're going to get a lot of something on this, but we can feed, we can nurture them. But at a certain age, they need certain seeds put in them.
Yes, ma'am.
And certain seeds they receive from a male better than they do a woman, and I understood that right away. And so I benefit because I made sure they were around male role models, coaches, and they weren't perfect either.
Right.
And it was all nationalities, so it didn't matter what their nationality. If they were a productive male figure in society, whether they were teaching, playing ball, whatever they were doing at the church, at the mosque, whatever. If my child or children resonated with that male, mm-hmm. Hey, can you have a conversation with my son? Can you have a conversation with this child? because you never know what seeds can be planted.
All right.
And they're all great boys and men today.
Right.
Well, I say men, they're all men. So when it came to discipline, you know, they got video games. Take them away. Destroy them. Oh, that hurt the heart. There was one who it didn't hurt. But what did bother him is he didn't like chores.
Oh.
So when he was on the punishment,
Okay.
I couldn't take his video games away because it didn't bother him. So what I could do was I would give somebody else a vacation. If he's on a punishment, you get a vacation. So guess what? You have to do your chores and their chores.
Right. All right.
Yes, you know, Heston got all the laundry this week. You know, it was you had to make up things. Everybody had chores in the house, but because we're teens, and so you had to come up with strategic ways, and each one is different. I had one who was a socialite. So guess what his punishment was?
No going out.
He didn't get trouble first. He couldn't go nowhere. Why? He had to stay there. Or you go straight to school, and when school is out, you just catch the bus and take 30 minutes to get home. You got till exactly 4:30 to get in this house before him. And then they said, well, what if, you can't walk them, so what? Oh, he can't go nowhere because he can't eat. He can't. This is my house. You have to live here.
Hello.
That was always the thing. Since I didn't have a king in the house, the queen ruled because she paid all the bills. And so if you wanted to go to castle, the rule was you want a castle, get your own castle.
All right.
And that was just it. And then I didn't even grocery shop by myself. Why? Because I have 4 teenage boys. And so when I say I'm going to the grocery store and I said, who's going with me? They say, I don't feel like it. So I take my clothes off after work and go lay down. And so they come up to the room and they say, I thought you said you were going to the grocery store. I said, did nobody want to know? I ain't the only one eating around here.
Oh.
They had to understand it was part of a team. They all know how to budget. And if I was too tired, I'd call, make a list. Y'all got $75 this week. And I'd go to the grocery store and sit in the car. And they come out and say, hey, we was under budget. So you gotta come up with creative things. And yeah, discipline, there's a discipline, but it ain't the type of people think of just whooping their children. Yeah, right. There's a time and a place for everything. Don't get me wrong. If they get popped in the head, absolutely. They can't talk disrespectful to me in their 20s. Folks not getting popped in the head. But all I had to do was they get disrespectful, they don't ask me for nothing. They say, because I know they coming back. Oh, right. You need a ride somewhere?
Yes.
You need new clothes, you need new shoes.
Yes.
Oh, you need to sign that paper so you get a job. Oh, no. I don't do nothing if I'm disrespectful. So there's a way to do it because they can't get through life without you.
Hello. That's.
And you don't let anybody circumvent you either. I had somebody circumvent me. And I confronted them about it because they don't rule my house. And I said, if you want to take over the responsibility of raising this child, then they can come live with you.
Hello.
But you don't get to sign papers, because my nephew was getting a tattoo at like 17. And I didn't do tattoo.
Whoa. Oh.
And our family didn't do tattoo. So, of course, again, with your community, you always praise your children in the community, right? I call everybody, guess who got AIDS? Guess who did this? Guess who got this? But guess what? When they got in trouble, I also let the community know. Yeah, he didn't do so well this time. That's what you did. And so, to this day, they say the part they hated the most when we told each other and the other aunties and the other people in the community what they didn't do so well.
All right. Roll call.
I said, but you also like the part when we edified you to the community. They said, yeah, you did. Yeah, we loved it. Every graduation, everybody was there. We celebrated you.
All right.
But we also, there was phone calls when you were out of line. There was phone calls, not just from me. I wasn't the only one running my mouth. You got a phone call from the men in the community. You got a phone call from your auntie saying, what's going on here?
All right. See?
So it's very, very important, and there's a way to do it, but I mean it. On a disciplinary community is the key.
Right.
At least it was for me. At least it was for me.
I like that. I like that. We have another caller. I'm going to bring that in.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored, and I'll be chiming out here so I can listen to the rest of this call.
Okay. Thank you, love. I appreciate it. I really do. Okay. All right, caller, you are live. How are you?
Hey, peace and blessings to you. Yeah, you guys are really doing a good job today. I really don't have a whole lot to add to that, except for, like she said, you just really have to use the resources that are around you. And even before I got this call, I was like, I'm going to call. And people like, what kind of call is it tonight? And I share with them the topic. And my 24-year-old son, my man child that I was honored to raise is here with his woman child.
Okay.
And they're visiting me for a week. And I say it like that because when we think of it in that way, like the sister said before, is that it begins to make you think of them differently and put a certain level of expectancy, a certain level of responsibility on them. And I like how she said that, it takes a village. It really does,
yes,
right?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. And I've always been a person who told my children the truth. And so I asked my children tonight, what y'all think about it? They were listening for a little while. They listened for a little while, but then they left and they went to go get ice cream or whatever. Good luck to them. They're going to Walmart to find almond ice cream, but it'll be okay. But the thing of it is that, really getting our children to understand that being a parent is such an honor. I'm going to go there because the sister covered the other side. And for me, I just wanted to say that being a parent is such an honor. And even whether it's biological, whether it's, surrogate or, self-imposed or situational, having that honor to impact a life that is younger than you is so important. And so I just look at that because I was a preteen when I became a parent. And so I had to get through high school. I had to go through sophomore, junior, senior high school as a parent. And so I respect and honor my parents for supporting me in that quest. But it also made me realize that, that's such an honor. Like, people don't understand, our children for real. I like to say, she said, look, I'm going to celebrate your good stuff, but I'm also put your stuff on Front Street. That's real life.
That's right. That's real talk.
I like that. I was like, damn, okay. I'm like, dang on if she is on to something, right? Because I do that in a certain way, but never on that level. So I really respect her and appreciate that for sharing that, because that's real talk. Because so often we're so busy celebrating, we don't remind our children there's going to be a low time.
Right.
And in that low time, we need to prepare them for that low time. So they can understand that in that low time, there's soon going to be an up time.
Right.
Absolutely, positively. I'm just saying.
That's true.
So I mean, she really just told it all, and I just wanted to add to that I'm just so honored to be a parent. I'm honored to be able to share in a position that we need to, as parents, we should understand that it's not about our journey; it's their journey. We got to learn. For me, I had to learn to relinquish in having this conversation as my children realized I was on yet another phone call, right? Listening again, that the topic is that we're not alone.
Right.
We're not alone.
Correct.
We are not the only parents who are raising brilliant and phenomenal, exponentially empowered and just so beyond whatever we thought we could produce, because we're not living out the expectations of other people. We want them to live the expectation and the agreements they had when they decided to come here. I'm going to say that again. Our children chose us as parents.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to go deep for some people, but I'm just saying that's my belief, and it had to be yours. That's just my belief. Because I'm told that we are all part of the divine creation. And so if we're part of all the divine creation, then we knew that our family was the way that it was when we came into this life. Yep. And the divine knew that we would have parents that would go through whatever, and our communities would go through whatever. So it's up to us to, when we are honored with the gift of a new entity that has chosen us, that we honor them for their contribution. I like how you said, Cecily, despite your child having challenges, you see that he's now got a job and people calling you, that means something. That speaks to your contribution to that being's life.
Yep.
So you should celebrate that.
Oh, I do.
You already are.
Oh, honey, I do.
Are.
Y'all know I brag.
Look, you already are. Because I heard you say it. You just said it with such pride. I was like, go on, girl. Brag on the baby. Brag on your baby, because that's what you did.
Yes.
Right? You planted that seed, and so it's using the fruit of what it is you planted. Absolutely, it is. And so I just say that, but today I was like, the struggle. Myself was like, you ain't with no struggle, and that really made me think. I'm going introspectively to this call. So for me, I was like, dang, like my children don't understand. Like when I had to go to the food pantry.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You went to the food pantry.
Like my children don't understand. Like when the lights got cut off at 8:00 in the morning, I had to hustle up the money. The lights cut back on before they came home from school at 4:15.
Right. That's real talk.
Right. I'm just saying. Right. That's part of parenting. But I would not give any of that time back. And it makes me really value the time I have with my children, the value of time of being a parent.
Right. And
that's all I wanted to say. So it's an honor to be a parent. And I like to speak for me because, like she said, you gotta take the good with the bad.
Yep.
You gotta, quote unquote, I'm saying bad in quotation. There's really, in my culture, there's really no such thing as a bad thing, because everything is divinely aligned.
Hello.
For your purpose, based upon your talent. But yeah, I just really want to say that, because I'm a mother of 6. I was married. We were doing very well, and then we got divorced. And so I ended up raising our 6 children. Well, one was an adult, because I was a preteen parent. But one was an adult when I got divorced. The other 5 were, under 18. And it just was a process. But when I look back, I realize this: the one thing I don't ever want to do is like my children are just so phenomenal. Like I cannot tell you how many times I go, had it not been for these wonderful children smiling and goofing and making me feel out, I don't think I could have made it. Right. And my son said, "Mom, I remember us struggling." I said, "Boy, you remember you." Absolutely. What did I do? So and I remember a girlfriend of mine telling me that she raised 4 phenomenal boys, and her boys are phenomenal. She raised 4 phenomenal. She said, I was like, I was on autopilot.
Right.
And I think that so many times we're on autopilot because thriving, not surviving. Thriving is innately within us. Right. That's why we're here today. We had no choice but to thrive and work with our children and keep them on that place. I heard. Go ahead. What was you going to say?
No. I was just clearing my throat. That's all. I'm clearing my throat. But I do have a question for you because you're a grandparent like I am.
Yes, indeed, I am. I'm going to tell you my grandparent story tonight. I got one. Go ahead.
I'm proud to be a grandparent. My babies are in Hawaii. They little tiny things. And y'all know I brag about my grandbabies too. Y'all know it on Facebook. And y'all know if y'all see me, I talk about my babies in Hawaii all the time. My daughter too. I love her too. I just love my grandbabies. I see stuff, I pick it up for my grandbabies, and I send it. And they know Grandma Sussy done sent me something, and she take pictures. And you could have think I won $1 million when I get those pictures from my grandbaby with them playing with the stuff or showing me stuff that they have with my grand. I appreciate them, but they also know Grandma don't play. But they, Grandma has a certain thing that Grandma does, but they love me. You understand? And watching my daughter do that is like, wow. And helping her and just being there and being a support. What can I do to help you? That's a new role for me because I don't want to be somebody else's parent. Been raising everybody's kids. That was time for me. I got to step back and just say, what do you want me to do to support you? Not just, and my grandbabies. Oh, okay, I got this. But I love my grandbabies, honey. Can't tell me nothing. They don't walk on water yet, just like my children don't walk on water. Got 2 daughters and a son. They don't walk on water yet. They working on it.
I like that. That's funny. They don't walk on water, but you know what? They walked on water. They just didn't know they was walking on it. How about that? They following their mama. They was following their mama while you was in your process.
Right.
But I'll say this. Tonight I had the most I'll share part of the epiphany. So my son is here. He's 24.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, I was a preteen. I wasn't a teenager. I was a preteen
Mm-hmm.
when I got pregnant with my eldest child, who's going to be 30 in September. So my son is here, my second born. He's 24, and he goes, his baby. He's going to bring his daughter, who's all of 2.5, maybe 3. I can't remember. I'm bad on that part. And she goes, she's playing with me today. She says, Meemaw, pick me up. And I pick her up. And she says, Meemaw, what is that in your hair? What is your hair called? I said, what do you mean, what is my hair called? She said, it's not a weave. That tells me that her mama wears weave, right? But I'm just telling you, I'm real. I'm keeping it real with y'all. She goes, Meemaw, what is your hair called? It's not a weave. I said, you're right. They're called locks. And she said, locks. I like that. And she starts playing with my hair, and she says, Meemaw, I want locks. And I go, oh, baby, Meemaw can't give you locks. Mama have a fit, right? Mama have a fit. And then she says, but I want locks. 90 seconds. That was such a touching moment for me. And then she started playing in my hair and started doing. I had my hair pinned up, and she took every pin out of my hair so she can play with my hair. And for me, that tells me, and I know it sounds very minuscule or whatever, but to be a parent and then have a grandchild, they don't call me grandma. My mother's still living. They call me Meemaw. Okay. And they call her Granny Girl. And they call the other girl Grandma. Right? So right, girl, right. Exactly, right? So they call me Meemaw, they call my mother Granny Girl, and they call the other grandmother Grandma. Mm-hmm. Right? And they call their grandfather Papa. So it's just like, the whole idea of just knowing that your legacy is extending. It just touched me in such a way tonight to realize it the first time I am in a position of motherhood.
All right.
I've been a parent. Yeah, I struggled. Yeah, I went to the food pantry. Yeah, I had to sign up for food stamps for whatever time period it was. Yeah, I had to get my back and kick butt. But the fact that my children can tell me, Mom, I remember us struggling. You ain't never been on a damn food stamp. I had seconds. I was like, what? I was like, y'all didn't know food stamps. It's like, no, we were never on food stamps.
But that's good, though. That's really good that right? they don't remember that, and it's wonderful. Yeah. And your grandbaby she's like, okay, I like this, I want this, and this feels good. That she's making her little decision now. She's locking it up. This is memory. No, she's not gonna forget. She's gonna go home and talk to her mama and say, Mama, I want locks. You know that she is.
No, right? She will be like, them people again, right?
No, we're gonna put positive energy. She's gonna say, okay, sweetie, that's something that we're gonna discuss. We're gonna put loving energy into that because she's gonna look at it at a positive point of view. People look at my hair, and I do natural. I've did weaves. I've did it all. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. I do braids. I do what I feel. I've did locks, sister locks. Yeah. I've did it all. I basically only thing I haven't did is color my hair. That's why I do the weave thingy and the braid thingy. Cause I'm one of those cowards. I'm not coloring my hair. I'm a coward. I'm going to admit it. I'm a coward. But you're teaching her something.
I'm going to give me some henna. Look, I'm going to give me some henna because I do got a little bit too much gray showing.
Honey,
I gray my family gray prematurely, but we'll be okay.
It's called wisdom. That's what I was told. Gray is called wisdom. And
yeah, I've had it all my life. But now, look, I've had that one spot all my life, and now it's spreading.
Well, what you do is you get some sage and some rosemary and start washing your hair and stuff. Your hair will actually start going back, but it also says that some nutrients needs to be put back in. That's what I learned over the years, but it can be reverted. Anything that you don't want or you don't like, you can always fix. It's always
Come on
a
now.
source out there. So I tell people, if you don't like it, you can fix it. If it's a problem from you, there is a solution for you. That's what you tell the grandbabies. That's what you tell your kids. If you don't like something, don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution.
Absolutely, positively. Yes, 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 yes.
So
So I just wanted to say that I'm just proud to be a parent. I'm proud that you had the conversation because I think that so many times we get like, oh my gosh, like someone posted on Facebook, the sister that was beating up, whooping her child. I'm gonna say whooping. Y'all don't like the word? Get over it. There is not a law.
right,
Corporal punishment means this. Corporal punishment means that you are abusing your child.
right.
You're using something that's going to bring bodily harm and infliction upon your child with the intention of leaving a wound, or a detriment or ending of their life.
Right.
Okay, a belt is allowed
Right.
by every state. A switch is allowed by every state.
Should be.
Right? A slap is no, I'm just telling you the law because I'm just telling you the real truth, right?
Okay.
So, a belt is allowed, a house shoe is allowed, a paddle is allowed. That's allowable as long as it is not with the intention to bring bodily harm and death.
Okay.
But
awesome.
you can discipline your child.
Okay. Did y'all hear that?
You can discipline.
I want them to hear that.
Listen to me. From a social service mandatory portal, you are allowed to discipline your child based upon your beliefs, your practices, your culture. Okay?
Okay.
The problem is when we come in and we get folks, doing all kinds of things, beating their kid with a baseball bat.
Ooh.
We got extension cords back in the day. Yeah, we got, whatever. But you are allowed to discipline your child.
Okay.
That you can't put in my person. That you can do. So remember that. You want to take care of that. And I think it's hypocrisy for people to believe that you can't discipline your child when every day we're seeing it in society. And so when a mother was popping her child, it was more out of fear because the reality is that, you're in Baltimore, Maryland. They done said y'all was going to rock the police. They done said y'all crazy.
Right.
And so what she's saying is that we do not want to get to that place where they can take you away from me.
Right.
So that's the fear of every parent. And if you're a Black African descent, I don't care what country you come from. If you're Black African descent, that's what I mean. Oh, I'm Haitian, baby. You look Black to everybody else in this country.
Right.
They don't give a pound that you Haitian. You look Black, African descent in this country. So be proud, love your children, support them, allow them to be who they are, let them live the life and the assignment that they agreed to. It may baffle us, it may confuse us. I love what you said, Cecily, that you are supporting your son and your daughters and your grandchildren. I love that. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, thank you. No problem. We went into a little overtime, and I know that's a good thing. That means we had good conversation. So I want to bring back on my other caller and say, bring her back on. Hello. You're live. Hello. Uh-oh. Okay. I just want to say thank you. I'm talking to everybody now. Talking to everybody. Because we're actually live on what is it? Google Hangout for people out there. You can watch this video. Go to I think the Food Alchemist YouTube channel. You get to see the video. Get to hear these young ladies talk about their parenting experience. And you need to hear this because it's very important to know the difference between corporal punishment and what is allowable by law, to know that you're not hopeless and you don't have to give up. So I'm posting this on Facebook. I'm posting this on everything you can think in Facebook for you to understand, because my goal is to make sure that we're able to help our children and be able to open that dialect of all the questions. Like I had a lot of questions, and I do, but these are things that I do with my children. These are things that these young women do with their children and their grandchildren, and I do with my grandbabies to support them. So we want to come together. So again, I'm reaching out to you guys. Like I said, we're going to do a show of all different religions, how we, as the women, ribbon rabbis and everything, how we can come together and stop this fake separatism And because it's just it's not, for me, it's not a reality. It's something that somebody done played out and put out and made people think it's a reality. It's just a dream. That's me. But I want to bring it so it's not a dream, that is reality, that we can live together and we can come together no matter your religion, your background, your class, or whatever it is that's holding you back from being part of a community and showing love. Because y'all know that's my thing. Love. That's all I know is love. And that's all I want to give each and every one of you is love. So, ladies, do you have anything that you want to say before I shut it down and do my signature sign off? Okay. No one?
I think you had it.
I'm going to say to everybody, this is your favorite food. What? Alchemist. I say love, light, life, longevity, and much prosperity to all of us. That means I send out my heart blessing to you, and it comes back. So I send nothing but the best for you guys. It's been real, and I will talk to you guys later. We are ending the show. Okay. Okay, it's good, but I need to